Change takes time, and medical students in the medical schools are finally catching on to conflicts of interest from the pharmaceutical companies. Big Pharma's influence on medical students is really big.
It's huge, and they're spending a lot of money doing what they can to start to influence young doctors as early as they can. When you look at the amount of money the pharmaceutical industry spends on each doctor every year to promote their products, that number is staggering and comes to $61,000 per doctor per year. That is unbelievable.
Well, some of the things that they do also is that they give them free samples of the drugs.
Right.
And they interact, with the sales reps, and the sales reps kind of act like they're a teacher to them,
Right.
and educate them about the drugs with their drug.
Yeah, of course. Well, they wouldn't pay them $10,000 to give a talk if they didn't give a talk that promoted their product, because it's about a business.
And they also fund some of their education, and they pay big bucks for speakers.
That's
They
right.
sometimes spend like $10,000. They'll pay a doctor to give a talk
That's right.
on a particular topic where he can just kind of mention their drug as being effective for whatever the condition
You
is.
have to keep in mind that the pharmaceutical industry is what? It's a business. It's trying to expand and make as much return on investment as it can. And so it starts out as early as it can with the medical students, which is very intelligent because then they get buddy-buddy with them. I remember back when I was an intern and I didn't know that much about the drugs because I was just getting into using them with patients. And those reps were all over the place. And now a lot of schools are limiting the number of the fact that, or just limiting those drug reps from coming in at all.
Well, the other thing they do is they'll treat you to meals
Take you on
and
trips.
give you gifts, and trips.
Back,
And then there's another place where there's a conflict of interest, and that's when the residents are going on rounds with the chief, whatever he is, with the chief resident.
chief resident or the staff.
Okay, so they
that's the-
take them
the
on
department
rounds,
heads.
and then the department head will say, "This patient has this condition, and this is the name of the drug that
That's
you
right. It's
use for
often
that."
a brand name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be outlawed. So the American Medical Student Association now has come up with a program that's called a farm-free score. They've got about 11 different perspectives that they're looking
Farm
at.
spelled PHARM.
That's right,
Okay.
for sure. That's good. And they're rating these schools on the basis of how many of those different 11 factors that they're living up to. And so there were only 2 schools that had a perfect score, and surprisingly, one was South Dakota Medical School, and the other was Florida State University. And back in 2008, only 79 of 152 schools, Vicki, were certified by them, and now in the last couple of years, it's risen to 105. And you look at a school like Harvard several years ago, it got an F. And they took it seriously because the pressure that's exerted on them when that kind of publicity comes out is enormous, and now they're getting A's.
Well, a big place where there's a lot of influence has to do with research. And this is where they really need to do something about it, because the doctors read the results of the research that's influenced by the pharmaceutical companies, and they believe it, and they treat they treat the patient
I'll say let's rephrase.
according to however the research turns out, and it might be biased.
Let's make it crystal clear.
Okay.
If a pharmaceutical company funds a study, the doctors or the scientists who are doing the study do a nice job. They do what they can. And then when they finish the study, something happens. They say, "Thank you very much, doctor, or Mr. PhD, for doing this study. Now we'd like to see your data. Hand it over to us, and we'll take care of the rest." And of course, they're not going to publish something that isn't really showing that their $500 million that they might have spent wasn't a good investment. So what they do is they change around the research to meet whatever positive perspective that they can make. And that's why people like Dr. Marcia Angel from Harvard, who was the chief editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine, quit her job and came out with several books talking about the conflicts of interest and the low quality of research that's coming across her desk to be published in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Well, there's a lot more work to be done, but this is a start. This is a beginning, the awareness, and to think that the students are, doing something on their own
I think
to
that's, you got to give them
object.
lots of credit.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why when I give lectures at medical schools, I'm apt to give them a copy of my book because it has a chapter in it called The Karma of Big Pharma. And it also talks about the miseries of what they're going through while they're getting their training. They appreciate it because they like to know that somebody's on their side.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at all these conflicts between the pharmaceutical industry and the doctors and the hospitals and all the other adjuncts that are connected to that, that's a very important thing to scrutinize, and it needs to come to a stop. We're looking for good information, for information we can trust, that is out there, that's valid. And thank you, medical students, for putting together this pharma-free score and straightening out a whole bunch of medical schools in this country.